Welcome back to another video. My name is Henrik and today we're going to be looking at the Volvo T8 motor with the S90 Recharge in the Ultimate variant, which is quite a long name, but that's what we're going to look at. We're going to see if it's better to get the estate version or to get the limousine version that we have right here, which is the S90. We have already taken a look at the V60, so we kind of know what an estate version is going to look like from a Volvo, and also the XC60, both with the T8 motor that we have right in here as well, which is going to produce 455 horsepower and 709 Newton meters of torque, which is quite frankly insane for this car, which is kind of like a sleeper build. But the car is going to start at 75,550 euros for the Recharge variant, and then our test vehicle, which is the Ultimate, is going to start at 82,200 euros. With all the extras that we have right here, it's going to cost you around 91,620 euros, which is quite a lot, but it's also the top of the line Volvo car, which is the most luxurious. That's what it's supposed to be, but let's take a look at it. First of all, I really like the design of the limousine. Looks a little bit better than the estate version from the side, but I'm still a bigger fan of the estate when it comes to the back. We can see that in a second here, but you can see the car is very long. It's 5 meters and 8.3 centimeters, which is actually the longest cars we've ever tested, which you can definitely see is quite long. But from the inside, you don't actually feel that it is that long. We do have a 20-inch wheels here, which do come with the air suspension that we have on here. That's only going to be for your rear wheels. So only in the rear you get the air suspension, but those are fairly big. And if you don't get the 20-inch wheels, that's going to cost you an extra 2,190 euros, I think, for the air suspension, which is quite a lot. Let's also go for a little bit to the front again. We have already opened this lots of time, the hood, so I'm gonna spare you that because this thing is just insane when you open it. And I frankly don't want to have to flop it down again because it's just way too big. But let's actually quickly do a 0 to 100 test. Claimed is 4.7 seconds. Let's see if we can actually reach that. Let's just see if we can do it fully down. Oh no, it does work. Okay, now it worked. And wheel spin still at 50. 4.68, there we go. It did have a negative slope of 1.4%, but it's a real world test, so 4.68. I mean, from a car that weighs 2.11 tons, you don't expect to have, it's like a sleeper car, you don't expect to have that much power. So 455 horsepower and 709 Newton meters of torque does really get you straight forward. And the other thing that you can see on here, we first of all have the Vapor Grey color, which is a very nice looking color in my opinion. I personally, if I would get a Volvo, I might get a little bit of a different one because this one just looks a little bit too standard. It is also the standard color. Other ones are going to cost you 1,150 euros extra, which is quite a lot. And generally you just have fairly dark colors. You do have a white one, which is like the most non-dark color, or you also, if I'm not mistaken, you have a red color as well. But in here you can also see we do have the dark as well, the dark exterior package, which looks really nice. You could theoretically also get all of this in like white or in chrome, and that's going to make all of these touches that you have on here in basically chrome. That, however, is also not going to cost you extra, which is nice. You can also see we do have the, right on here, we have the Thor Hammer full LED active high beam lights, which looks really great, and they also work wonders at night. And they also have the, just like any other Volvo, they're going to move with you while you're turning into a corner, for instance. And down here we have some more aerodynamic touches. For instance, this down here might look like it's fake, but it's not. It's actually going to support your braking or your brakes to get some more airflow towards those brakes, which is nice. And while we're talking about the brakes, let's also see how quickly we can actually get them. It is fairly wet outside. We have already done the test, and I can tell you it was a fairly good run. So we're going to see how quick those things go from 100 down to 0. Okay, so for the brake test, just to get a comparison, V60 we had 35 meters. It is starting to rain a little bit, or it has already rained a little, so the road is a little bit wet, so we can expect quite a lot of sliding now. So 35 meters is probably not going to be what we're going to get, but we'll see what we get. Yeah, that definitely was a lot of sliding, but 2.59 seconds, still not bad. Let's see. 34 meters, okay, well, well, that's insane. Yeah, well, 34 meters is a really good value considering it is a little bit wet outside, so yeah, nice. And a couple of other things that we can see on the side. For instance, we have keyless go in the front and also the back, so fairly practical. And if you want to get tinted rear windows, it's going to cost you 510 euros extra, which is unfortunate. It doesn't come with the highest package standard-wise, but that's how it is. We do also have a full 360-degree camera, so we do have also cameras under the side mirrors. Let's move on a little bit further to the back. We can also see we don't have a rear wiper on here, which makes it look really, really clean. In my opinion, that's the thing I love about limousines, just the way they go like down in the back. But then one thing I'm not the biggest fan of when it comes to Volvo is the lights in the back and also the design in the back. I don't feel like it's really that bad. It just looks a little bit older and luxurious. My cameraman absolutely, well, do you absolutely hate it or do you not like it?
like turtles.
Okay. Wow. Well, if you have the if you have the estate version in your head, you can definitely see the difference because those lights go basically all the way up. But in here you have like just the short version of it, and it looks a little bit like a Polestar where you have the lights going through the top bar. But this one, I don't know, it just doesn't look that nice. Looks a little bit old, and I guess most of the people that are going to buy this car are going to be a little bit older, so they might actually personally like this. We can also see we do have the T8 badge on here, all-wheel drive recharged version, which again, the engine in here is just insane considering, well, you don't expect to have that powerful of an engine in here. In here, we have a trunk space. You can see we don't have that big of a trunk space due to the fact that it is the sedan version, so you're not going to have, well, or limousine version, you're not going to have that much space in the top. In here we have a space of 431 liters. Theoretically, you can flip over the back seats. I'm not too sure how much volume you're going to have fully in there because there's really no claimed, well, volume that you have when you flip over the back seats, which is unfortunate because I would really like to tell you, but I can't. And we also have a towing hitch on here, which is going to semi-automatic, so you have to flop it in here. You're going to be able to tow 2. That was a freaking V-Class. Okay. We have a semi-automatic towing hitch, which can allow you to tow up to 2.1 tons, which is also quite a lot. If I'm not totally mistaken, that's 100 kilometers more than on the V60, which is quite a lot. So yeah, the car also weighs 2.11 tons, so you can basically tow another S90 behind it. And because it is the recharger model, meaning we also have a plug-in hybrid in here, which is nice. So you can charge this car at 3.6 kilowatts an hour, or kilowatts, which is not great. That is one downside when it comes to getting a Volvo plug-in hybrid. But the battery in here is actually fairly decently big, which is going to be an 18.8 kilowatts an hour battery. You can only use 14.7. Which is not bad, but that's going to get you up to around 88 kilometers. For instance, a plug-in hybrid from Mercedes E-Class, that's going to give you almost 100 kilometers of range, but 88 kilometers is still really good. In combination with a 60-liter tank, you're going to be able to go really far. For instance, we did a drive. Actually, no, let's talk about that once we're driving. So let's go in and drive the car and see what consumption we had. So 0.8 is claimed WLTP. That's obviously not going to be what you're going to expect to have. If you put in the hybrid and on auto, that's going to use both the battery and also the fuel. And we have put it on, well, we did a pretty long drive, not a long drive, but 170 kilometers on the Autobahn. We got around 6.7 liters, 6.5, that's what we eventually got it down to. And if we also had it on hold, meaning it's going to keep the battery level, or it's going to try to keep the battery at a even place. If you look on here, the total distance that we have been driving since we've got the car, 940 kilometers. We've averaged at around 7.7. That's due to the fact that we have also driven a little bit on the power mode, and yeah, in general, 7.7 liters with an average speed of around 53 kilometers, and the car only has 2,751 kilometers down. So you're going to be expecting, you can definitely get it down to around 6 liters if you go fairly good on the Autobahn. So really good consumption considering the car is actually fairly heavy and also fairly long. One thing that's also really nice is that the interior in the S90 is a little bit nicer than the V60. That's what you most likely expect. Let's first of all take a look at the side, because you can see the fabric goes all the way down, which is amazing. You have great quality everywhere. The Bowen Wilkinson sound system is a little bit bigger. That's one thing I would definitely opt for. 3,000 euros extra, but that thing is amazing. 1,410 watts. You also have memory function for the passenger and also for the driver's seat. Electrical adjustable like thigh support in here, which is really nice. And the seats are the same as in the V60 that we had. So these like tailored wool seats or wool blend performance, which I'm not the biggest fan of because they are fairly hard and fairly tight. I'm not the biggest fan of those because they're just, like I said, not that comfortable. Interior otherwise is exactly the same as in any other Volvo that you can basically get. If you want a more in-depth review of that, you can definitely check out the V60 or also the XC60 video that we already made. In here again, we don't have much storage space, 2 USB-Cs in here and also your cigar lighter in there. And again, really no storage space for your phone, which is unfortunate. And the interior, well, the infotainment system is a little bit confusing to use and a little bit outdated. When it comes to the other things that you have in here, you don't have a massage function as well, which I'm kind of missing. That would be one extra that I would definitely want in here. You can theoretically opt for that as well. But yeah, otherwise the interior, just quality-wise, is just amazing. There are a couple of things that are a little bit sad in the back, due to the fact that because it's a sedan, you're not going to have that much headroom. I'm 1.80 m and there's probably around 5 to 8 centimeters more headroom above me, so not too much. So above 6'1", 6 foot, you're most likely going to hit your head on the top, which is unfortunate. Also the other thing, because that panoramic window doesn't go that far back, you're not going to have a benefit of having that in there for more headroom. You also don't have heated seats in the back, which is a little bit unfortunate, and also the air conditioning on the side is not the most practical, because you also can't change the temperature on here, you can only adjust the airflow. Seats in here are very comfortable, and you can see I have a lot of legroom that's basically adjusted to me in the front, so 5'11", 1.80 m, and you can see tons of legroom because the car is also really long, but really nice. And also therefore my thighs are not hitting, or are fairly comfortable on here. You also have a pass-through in the middle, so you can also flip this down. You do have two wonderful cup holders in there, which is nice. The side also really luxurious again, big Bowen Wilkerson speakers in there. There's actually two in there, which is really nice. And in general, everywhere really great quality. And you can also, the other thing that you can do is you can actually flip up like this little sunscreen in there, which is nice, so you are protected from the sun. So when we're driving in hybrid mode, because we do have a couple of different modes, you can definitely hear the car is really quiet. It's going to kick in, you can see up there on the digital cockpit, which is nice to have. The digital cockpit, you can see as soon as it hits the little like oil icon there, that's when it's going to start putting in the combustion engine. But when driving in hybrid mode, this car is just really quiet and really smooth. With the sound deadening stuff that you have in here, this car is really quiet. And on top of that, with the Bowen Wilkinson sound system, even if you're driving a little bit higher, wind noises are going to pick up, but with that, when you're listening to music, you're not going to hear anything, and your ears are going to start to bleed if you put it on full volume, because that thing is just amazing. You do also have the air suspension in the back, so on your back rear axle, which really does smooth out the back when you're sitting in the back. Really smooths out every road bump in here and really makes it feel amazing. It obviously isn't like an S-Class suspension, but it's still really well done, and it isolates you in the driver cabin a little bit more from the outside. And if you're driving over a little bit more bumpy roads, ooh, look at that. That horse sees a Volvo and he's like, oh yeah, let's go. Wonderful. But that suspension does a fairly good job. It does also have adaptive dampers in there, so just a little bit more very smooth riding quality in here in general, which is a little bit more luxurious than if you compare it to a V60, but on top of that, you're also paying 10,000 euros extra for it, which is quite a lot. So we do again have the same infotainment display. We do have a heads-up display, digital cockpit, which is nice because it is integrated with Google Maps, so you can just plop something in there and you can have it on your digital cockpit, which is nice. And basically, you don't have wireless Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, but because you do have Spotify in here, you have YouTube in here, you have Google Maps, you're most likely not going to be using it anyways. It would be nice to have, but because you have Google Maps in here, you're just going to plop that in there and you're good to go. Like I said, we do have a couple different modes. We have hybrid, power, pure, and constant all-wheel drive. I personally like the power a lot because that is just really nice to use. And if you put it in there, you can also see the digital cockpit changes up a little bit, so you can see your RPMs in there now, and it goes up to 7,000 with the red line, and then 8,000 on top of that. Let's actually see. Okay, so it shifts at around 5.5, that's where it shifts up. But the power in here, just without 455 horsepower, is just amazing. We'll do a couple of more sporty drives in a second. Just the kick you get in there as well, it's just so instant, well not instant, but it's really well done, and you don't expect to have this good of a cornering capabilities considering the weight and the size of this car as well. But it goes through these corners at an amazing speed and easily, look at this. It's like driving on freaking rails. This is amazing considering you're driving the biggest and longest Volvo that you can get, apart from the XC90 obviously. When we're driving here, you can definitely see that we also have quite a lot of safety features, which are nice to have, because Volvo is obviously known to be a very safe car. NCAP norm for the safety assist is 95%, and adult safety is also, I think, 94%, which is really high. If we just press this button, we can change, for instance, what it's going to activate. So now we have adaptive cruise control with lane keeping or lane centralization assist, which is nice. It also does see the speed on there, so or it does have whatchamacallit, wasn't it's okay, that was interesting. Okay, hello, no, the center, there we go. It actually works good, but that was the first time it's been a little bit scary. but it also has your speed limit or your speed sign detection, which is nice to have. So you can change this, for instance, if you press right on it, if you have safety features on, you can press right on, it's going to change to adaptive cruise control or also lane centralization assistant. And in here you can also change what that button does, for instance, if it's only going to do speed limiter or also adaptive cruise control. But for instance, you also do have blind spot assistance, which is nice, and also automatically dimmable side mirrors and also rear view window, which is nice. So if somebody really blinds you, if the sun shines on it, it's gonna have like this green tint on it, which is really nice. Ooh, that's the facelift Polestar. There we go. If we look at it right here, you can see it doesn't perfectly blend in with everything. If it's dark outside, the quality in here is also really, really bad. Well, not really bad, but it's not that nice. You do have a fairly good quality in it in general, but you can't move it around. You can also see we have like these gray lines around it, so it's not the most accurate and best to use. And again, infotainment system is just really confusing to use. So what's my final verdict on the S90? Well, personally, I wouldn't choose the S90. I would rather choose the V90 because it's more practical. I don't know if you also really need such a long car, so you might even be good with the V60. We did already do a full in-depth review of the V60, so if you want to check that out, right up there. That car is really practical. It has lots of room in the interior, and you can go easily, you can have trips with a lot of people. But like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of the back of the Volvo S90, so I would rather get, that's a freaking loud tractor, but I'd rather get the V90 of the variant of the Volvo. But in general, it's still an amazing car, luxurious. You do have the air suspension there, which makes it a little bit more comfortable to drive, which you can't get in the V60 or the S60. But in general, Volvo just always pretty amazing cars. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Welcome back. I keep saying it. Hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time. Make sure to like and subscribe. Bye-bye.